writing, and I haven't been waiting for a response. I've actually been waiting for validation, you know? I've been waiting for somebody to say, you know, you've got great writing capability, what you've got to offer is brilliant, you matter, your story matters, your journey matters, these other women's stories who were within this book, their stories matter.
Drive. So what I started to do, I started to just like buy and sell domain names when the internet was like literally you had to plug it into your wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's so easy because you're chasing this dream and this vision that you have, and to feel as though you need to be working all hours of the day. And yes, there are some days where you need to push yourself that little bit harder, but you really need, if you haven't got your health and your well-being, you haven't got any business.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, where I'm joined by phenomenal women in business who are all at varying stages of their entrepreneurial journeys. I share their challenges, their successes, and their pieces of advice that they want to give to you as other women in business. If you haven't already done so, please make sure that you click that subscribe button so that you're the first to know when I release a new video. Today, I'm joined by Paula Perry, who is the founder of You4Us. She has a long list of other things that she does, but I'm going to allow her to introduce herself properly. Paula, thank you so much for joining me today.
Greetings. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So tell us, you're the founder of You4Us, but you're a speaker. You do tell us all of the different things that you do.
So my name is Paula Perry. I'm the founder of You4Us. You4Us name comes from, because I believe when you are at your best place mentally, physically, emotionally and spiritually, it has an impact on the us being your children, your family members, your peers, and ultimately the wider community. So I started this organization to the aim is to break negative generational cycles. So I focus on areas of finance, education, and parenting. I began with finance because looking around myself, I've realized that many people are not taught about finances in the home. And even myself, I wasn't taught about finance in the home. But what I did notice is I saw money being mismanaged. So that kind of gave me a blueprint of what I was not going to do when I grew up, as you say, when I grew up. So I've kind of managed money in a way that not many of my peers or family members actually do it. And maybe that is, well, not maybe, it is to do with my childhood from what I saw, why I didn't want to have the similar experiences, right? And I've done a few things like bought property, being able to travel, do things with my children, that I realized that people just have not been taught about managing their money at all, right? Mm-hmm. And it's allowed you to maybe mismanage the way you spend your money, or we're living payday to payday. And that's something that I wanted to bring awareness around, because how we do things impact our children. And we're coming into where we are now. It's not about wasting money, and money is a tool to be able to create more money. So that's one area of things that I do, and along with the parenting stuff as well, that falls in line with that. I'm also an co-author of a book, best-selling book, Black British History. So I do a lot of speaking around history. Yay! And really fun. And I'm also an international speaker. So I make it a point of duty wherever I travel to go to local schools, to speak to young people that are maybe in poverty areas, that your environment does not dictate your future. And I'm a living example of that. So that's why I do what I do. And I also teach Black history to Key Stage 3 children, and I lecture on Black studies. That sounds like a long list there.
Well, this is why I wasn't going to try and do it, because there's no way I would have remembered it all, and I knew I was going to miss something. What a phenomenal woman you are. Congratulations. That's Thank a lot of stuff.
Oh, that means a lot.
There's so many, and I do this with every interview. You've said what you said, and now I've got like 20 questions in my head in order. So the first question is, you mentioned around money being mismanaged, and obviously I can look at you and see that you're a Black woman. Do you think that this is something that is inherent within the Black community? Because I also I don't think I was necessarily taught how to manage finances, and I have a lot of people around me that also don't know how to manage their finances effectively and come from the Black community, whether that be Black Caribbean or Black African, and are just supposed to know now that they're adults, but actually the training wasn't there as children. Do you think that this is something within our community specifically?
Most definitely. I think our cycles normally is that we go to school and we're told to go and have a job, and then you just handle business. But really, when other communities are taught about things, other communities are taught about money management and maybe starting businesses, how to grow your money, how to invest your money, how to build wealth. I think within our community, sometimes we're not taught these things, so we just feel like money's to be spent. And also it's a holistic thing, so I can't pinpoint it down to just a few things, but just to say that oftentimes, because of the way we mismanage our money, or it's not the way we want it to be, sometimes we become consumers. We're very much consumers with our money. So we look great, we drive nice cars, everything externally looks perfect, but behind closed doors, there could be a struggle. And it's about breaking that cycle, because obviously sometimes when your money is not where you would like it to be, we cover things up, because one thing within the Black community, we don't like to talk about money. Yeah, that's something we made me told, like, you don't chat your business. You don't talk about things and let people know what's going on behind closed door. When in actual fact, we just need some support sometimes. You just need a little bit of support, some skills, some tools on how to do things. And then you'll find yourself managing your finances a lot better. I do a lot of I do financial awareness courses. I also run a free savings challenge, and the feedback I get back from that is absolutely amazing, because some people say, I haven't got any money to save. And then I give them a structure of how to save. And they're like, oh my gosh, Paula, I've never been able to save this amount of money before. And it's just about looking at how you do things, because once you become conscious of where your money is being spent, you can start thinking, hold on a sec. I'm spending too much money in that area, and how can I cut back from that and be able to put that in another area that's going to be more beneficial to myself? I always use the examples about a lunch. Sometimes we spend money on our lunch every day, but if you was to tally that up each month and see how much you're spending, like £300 on cheese sandwiches, you're like, hold on a sec, I can make those sandwiches at home and bring them in, right? So you start adapting the way you do things.
Yeah. I think that's really important. And in terms of, so you mentioned savings, what about investing into things? I think from my perspective within like my circle, something that for many years that we've all been very nervous about is taking our hard-earned money that sometimes is scarce and trying to make our money work for us. So actually sometimes just saving it's good, like it's obviously good to save, but sometimes you need to make your money work for you. But I think we're inherently risk averse. And this is obviously a sweeping generalization, but I think when you're coming from a place of lack, even when you're not in that lack anymore, you're so scared of going back to that you don't want to do anything that could take you back to that point.
Yeah. And that's a mindset thing. And with anything that we do in life, it's about learning new skills. So anything you do with investment, it's about due diligence, right? And understanding what you're investing in, because once you've got the understanding, you become a little bit more relaxed because you know what you're doing. Especially us women, we overthink. When men will go into investment a lot easier than us women, because we like to overthink things, we like to know everything, and then we're like, should I not? And for me personally, it's all about due diligence. It's all about learning what you're going into. And one thing about investing, you never invest anything that you're not prepared to lose. Right? And what I mean by that, you're not always going to lose it, but it's a two-edged sword. You could lose it. So if you're going to invest £100, you've got to know to yourself, okay, am I prepared to lose this £100? Because there is risk elements with it. I always find that start off small. You can start off like with £50 and learn whatever is your investment. If whether it's stocks and trades, whether it's trading, whether you're investing in somebody else's business, because sometimes you can invest in somebody else's business and get a return, but it's just about you understanding what it is you're going into. And I think that's the key thing about with investments. You need to do your due diligence and whether or not you are risk averse. If you're someone who's going to be like, you know, like really panicky about it, maybe it's not the time for you to do it. And I'm the type of person, I have to learn by doing. So, yeah.
You're you like to experience things.
Yes.
So you don't want to learn from others' mistakes. You want to go through and learn from your own.
Exactly. And with the due diligence, that is where, you know, whether you're reading about things, whether your friends done it before and they told you what the pitfalls were, and then you kind of avoid those things. But for me, I need to step into it first, and then I'll learn going forward. Yeah.
So obviously you've explained that your interest in kind of financial management came from experiencing mismanagement of finances as a child. When you then decided to go down this route, what was your family's response? Because did you ever explain to them that was the reason?
I think, you know what, from early growing up, I've always done things where people around me, my family members, have watched and thought, oh my gosh. And just by talking, sometimes you just talk and you're like, you know, I'm doing this, or this is the way I'm doing it. I'm going to save this to go on holiday. I'm going to do it, you know, do it this way. And generally people just around me pick things up from what I'm saying. So for instance, I've got a family member who was always in debt. Anytime she traveled, she would borrow money and so forth. And just from talking and working with her, you know, she started doing things differently, and she's out of debt. She's saving now. You know, when she goes on holiday, it's always with saved money. She's got different pots of saving. And that was just from me, just her kind of role modeling of myself, if that makes sense. And I've been doing that for a very, very long time. And then I just thought to myself, do you know what? Some things that you think that are natural, or you think people know, they actually don't know. And that's what made me kind of bring the fire in me to think, do you know what? It's just about awareness. Once you're aware of something, you know, I love the saying, you know, when you know better, you do better. Mm-hmm. And that was just the point for me to say, I just need to spread this out, because and use myself as an example, because once you see it with someone who you can relate to, think, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's basically what kind of brought me to want to start doing this, because I look around, you know, sometimes you've got someone, for example, with a beautiful, nice car, and then I know behind closed door, you're actually struggling to make those payments. You know, a lot of we see, you know, especially we've got a perception thing. We see people with a nice car and think, right, they got it together, and not realizing that actually they're struggling to make the payments for the car or so forth. And it's just about, if you understand within yourself and say, you know what, I don't need to drive this particular car right now. I'm going to scale back so I can, you know, build up, clear debt, do other things in my life. And I'm not watching externally what people's thinking about me. You can get on in life a lot better. And it's just about breaking that mindset. A lot of the times it's a mindset shift that needs to be broken.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It's funny you use that as an example, because that car thing is something that personally irks me.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate to see people driving in these big cars, but I know that they're not necessarily financially stable, and therefore shouldn't be driving those cars.
You know, and that's something for me as well, because, you know, sometimes we have these beautiful cars and then we're going to the petrol station and putting £10 in there. And,
although I do that generally.
You know, and that's not. Yeah, we can't fill the tank up, or the tire goes, and, you know, that's like £300 for a tire. And, you know, so it's about living within your means, or even living below your means, until you're financially stable, as you said, because there's actually 4 ladders to financial stability. And the first one is stability, where your income equals your expenses, right? And if your income does not equal your expenses, you're actually in a unstable place. Because if anything comes in ad hoc, it kind of sends you into panic modes. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we want to really get to is where our income equals our expenses. So that's the first rung, and you're in stability. The next rung would be security, where your income equals your expenses, plus you have a rainy day fund. I like to call that my get vex money, you know. So
I know that one.
So if anyone's violated, you know, if I'm in a place of employment and I'm being violated or anything, I've got the means to be able to say, you know what, I'm leaving, and then I'll find something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then our next level from there of stability is independence, where you've got assets actually covering your expenses. And that's a place where I'd like all of us to get to, right? Because when you've got assets paying for you're kind of in a freedom place where you're able to use your time to create more assets or create more income into yourself. And then the next level is affluence, where you've got multiple assets paying for your lifestyle, and then you're able to use your money for charity. You're able to do things that you actually want to do. So that's the basics that I want to get people to understand. And I believe that every generation deserves a step up in life. And at the moment, that's not happening. And I believe that we need to create that step that each generation builds upon and it grows upon. Yeah.
Oh, we were supposed to meet today. We were supposed to speak today because you're just speaking to everything that I agree with. And yeah, I cannot agree more. I know that you registered You4Us in the last couple of years. What was your journey from like leaving school to registering the business? What happened in between? Because I think sometimes people think when they hear about entrepreneurs and women in business, or men in business for that matter, that they just woke up and the business was there and that's just what they've been doing. But obviously there was a gap in between.
Yeah. So my profession, I'm a project manager. So I've worked in commissioning roles and managed multiple £1 million contracts, predominantly around communities for a long time. And you know what? Sometimes when I registered my business for years before then, I wanted to do like motivational speaking and things like that. Before it was like, you know, out now, you know, it's really what's the word? It's
the in thing to be. Now.
And I wanted to do that years before, especially when it comes to youth. And then, you know, you have that doubt in yourself. I'm like, who's going to listen to you and so forth. So I stalled for a long time, right? It registered the company in 2014 and I didn't do anything. And I held my first event December 2016. And I remember thinking, it's the week before Christmas. I had a coach at the time. It's the week before Christmas. Should I cancel it? Because, you know, who's going to come? And she's like, no, Paula, you're doing it. You're doing it. And that event actually got sold out a month before the event was to take place. And I was like, wow, that gave me a real confidence boost. And since then, I've just been going and, you know, continuing with what I'm doing, even though sometimes we still have these doubts, you still have these, you know, these thoughts going. But I've learned more now to kind of say, yeah, let the thought go in and let it go out because I'm still doing it. You know, that field affair and do it anyway type of thing. So, yeah, so I was in employment since I've been 18, you know, developing my career in different aspects. And then I realized I do want to do this motivational speaking, awareness stuff, and I just stepped out and done it. Yeah, stepped out and done it, and it's gone really well. But I'm telling you, Daniela, it was a long time of stalling with these ideas, just thinking like, who's going to listen to you, or who's going to want to, you know. Yeah.
And it's interesting because a lot of the women I speak to, whether that be through here or through me doing coaching and consultancy work, but a lot of them have that same feeling. Like I had the idea, or I wanted to do it for a long time, but I just kind of thought, who would want to hear me, or who would pay me to do these things?
Yeah.
And that is essentially rooted in this kind of imposter syndrome thing.
Yes.
And not necessarily always stepping into belief of who we are and what we actually can do, and not, even though you know it, for some reason you're always unsure that other people are going to, number one, pay for it.
Yeah.
Number two, even be bothered about it. And it's something that so many women, and also people of color, my research has said that people of color, whether that be male or women, suffer with imposter syndrome disproportionately to non-people of color.
It's funny because the word expert, I shied away from that word for a long time, and like I don't like anyone referring to me as an expert. And then I looked up the definition of it, and it was basically someone who's experienced things, got knowledge about a certain subject. And I thought to myself, well, actually, Paula, you are an expert in that field, because I don't talk about anything I'm not experienced. So even with the financial awareness and how I coach people or teach people how to budget, you know, how to do different elements of finance, it's things I actually do and done and know works. You know, even my children, I can see the fruits in my children following in suit as well. But I shied away from that word. You know, people would put it on events, and I'd like, no, could you take away the word expert, please? I don't like that word.
And they're like, that's why we're hiring you, because you are the expert.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's such an interest, and the more I have these discussions, the more I realize, there's a lot of us that have been through that process, because I went through it. And actually, depending on what day you catch me, sometimes I'm still in it.
Yes.
And I think for me, my process was kind of similar to what you did. So you looked at what is it to be an expert. I always felt uncomfortable with the word entrepreneur. And then I went and looked, what actually is an entrepreneur? And I'm like, that actually does kind of fit.
Yeah.
But it is something that sometimes I do feel, I still feel a level of discomfort, depending on, as I said, what day of the week it is, what time of the day it is.
That's it.
Flip-flops. But it's an important thing to discuss, I think, because especially for those that are right at the beginning of their journey and are experiencing these feelings. Like for me, when I was going through it, I didn't know that it was a thing. I'd never even heard of imposter syndrome. All I knew was that I don't like this feeling when people are kind of celebrating me or talking about me as this role model. And I'm like, who is this person they're talking about? Oh my gosh, somebody's going to catch me. They're going to realize that it's not really all these things that they're saying, it's not really something that she's done. And it was kind of like, but have you done them? Yeah,
exactly.
What are you talking about?
It's funny you saying that, because I this Black History Month, PwC held an event of 31 people of Black British achievers, and they asked me to be one of those 31 people. So when I got the request, I was like, who, me? You know, like me, like, you know, I don't know, like, and I even stalled sending in the information, because they sent me a list of questions that they want me to answer to make up the board. And I actually stalled sending it back, so I was chased. Again, I said, who, me? And then it's like God said to me, yes, you Paula. Did you ask you? And I thought, okay, God, yeah, they did ask me. So I sent in the information, right? But again, you know, they requested, and I was like, who, me? Kind of thing. So yeah, it happens. It does happen.
But as I said, I think it's so important for us to talk about it for those people that may be sitting there like me, like you, thinking it's just me that's experiencing this, when actually many of us do, and people talk about it as much as I think that they should. So moving on, you mentioned that you have children, and I've seen that from your Instagram. How for me, one of the challenges, and even in this interview, my daughter's been running in and out. How do you manage your professional life and juggling family life? Right.
Okay. So now my daughters are adult women. So at the moment with business, it's fine, because I haven't got they're not dependent upon me at the moment. But with growing up, it was okay, because I had a family support network in terms of their father was there. So a lot of the times I used to feel guilty, because their dad would be the person who picked them up from school and done all those aspects. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I'd missed stuff. But it's not been that challenging in regards to business, because they're adults now. Even though they're adults now, they are still like, oh, mum, you're always on your phone, not realizing that it's business. And I still have to check myself, because I'm like, you know what, quality time is needed. Even though they're grown women, it looks like they still want mummy to have quality time with them. So it's about just penciling out time to be able to have those discussions that they might need with me. And that's all I've always done that with them growing up when they were in school as well. Dinner time, let's sit together, ask questions, you know, how was school? What challenges did you have? And I think that's really important when it comes to business, because you can get sucked in with what you're doing with your business. And in terms of, you know, having events, doing other things, and especially when you are got those doubting thoughts as well. So you're even more going in a bit more harder, right? So it's about carving out time to just ensure that I make time for my girls as well. So
I can't move on to the next bit without commenting on the fact that you do not in any way, shape, nor form look like you could have adult children. I just needed to make points of that, because I feel like if I was watching this, I would want me to ask that, not to ask a question, but to make that point. But yeah, you do not look like you could have adult children.
Oh,
so
bless.
it's working for you. So in terms of you decided to start the business, what were, if anything, some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the first, if any challenges that you faced in the first?
I think the key challenges, Daniela, to be honest, is me getting over my own thoughts of doubt, my own thoughts of questioning myself. I think that is the key thing for me. And once I got over that, and I'm still getting over that, so I'm not saying I don't, I still do this questioning thing, but what I do differently now is I still step out and do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where before I would hold myself back. You know, sometimes I'll be talking, you know, there's loads of issues that I want to talk about, but then you start questioning yourself, oh, am I going to offend anyone? And da-da-da-da. And what I've realized in business is that my whole goal is, if I only help one person on this earth, that one person is good enough, because that one person is going to have a domino effect on somebody else. Mm-hmm. So that's how I think about things now, is the ripple effect. So I can't be thinking about myself and, you know, doubting myself because I'm blocking somebody else from receiving that information and being able to change from the information that they've received and go on to have a domino effect in their family and in their environment. So I think that's quite crucial. I think the key aspect is getting over myself. Like, we need to, you know, stop doubting ourselves and try. Because sometimes when you try, you rather win or you learn. It's not win or lose.
I love that.
Win or you learn. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you learn from what doesn't go well, and then you know what not to do next time. So yeah, I think that's the key message.
Yeah, I love that. You win or you learn. And I think often we shy away from things because we're scared of failure, but there isn't any such thing as failure, really, because it's always going to be a lesson. And sometimes failure is good because you learn that lesson, which then is going to help you win the next battle that you embark on. So I definitely agree with that. You mentioned in your written interview that you are a bit of a perfectionist. Mm-hmm. This is something that I've battled with. I like everything to be perfect, but I began to realize by sitting there and trying to have everything perfect, time is passing and nothing's getting done. And people are not seeing necessarily what I can do because I'm sitting there trying to make the website perfect. So I'm trying to get the content in the blog so perfect that the blog doesn't come out. And by the time it comes out, the point has been passed and nobody's how have you learned to overcome that? So a phrase that I always say now is, it's better to be done than perfect, because without it being done, it doesn't matter if it's perfect.
Exactly. And I think I've gone by the same thing that you're saying, Daniela, is that some things just have to be done. Like, sometimes I'm writing a post and then I have to go back and see the mistakes, because if I don't put it out, like you said, it's never going to get out. So sometimes I put something out and then I spot the mistakes, and I can always go back and edit it after. Again, like, it's a lot of video content now, and sometimes I'm like, oh, do I have to be perfect? And like, sometimes I just put the camera on and just say what I've got to say. Yeah, I might not pronounce words correctly, because sometimes I've got a bit of an issue with my pronunciations, but so be it. This is me. You're getting the natural me, right? So what I've realized now is being authentically you is what people gravitate to and like. So they're not really watching that you pronounce the word right. It's kind of like a little quirk to yourself that, oh, look how she pronounced that. Or, you know, you might go back and a lot of the times I put things out and then my daughter will send me an inbox message saying, Mum, it's there, not there. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay. Then I just go back and change it out. She's always in my inbox like, Mum, you didn't add this word in, or, you know, and then, so now I just like, you know what? Let me get it out. This is me. Like, what you see online is me offline, and it's better to be authentic in what you're doing than trying to. I think that's where you get the natural warmness of who warms to you. So perfection. I'm still going to say I do like things being a certain way. I'm not going to lie. I do like things being a certain way. But now I'm realizing that let's get it. Let me just get it out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. Even with so my brochure for my services, I've changed it about 20 times because I just wasn't happy with it. And then it got to the other day and somebody asked me for one, and then I sent it and I was like, I hate it. Now this is the time I'm going to do it. After I've done this, that's it. It's done. I'm not doing it again. So I finally finished it, and I'm like, actually, now I'm happy with it. But what I'm most happy about is even when I wasn't happy with it, I was still sending it out. Because what I could have done is kept saying to people, oh, it's not ready yet. And I would have lost work because I wasn't sending it. So although to me, I was like, it's a year overdue, I've got it done, but I didn't stop myself from sharing what I wasn't happy with.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like a growth in terms of me and this perfectionism stuff. Yeah. Although one of the clients I sent the old one to, he said he'd sent it to somebody else. And I was like, no, they're going to see that horrible one, send this one.
Yeah.
It is a learning. It's something that you have to kind of train yourself.
Grow with it. And it's good you're saying that, because I'll be the same. Like when I create things, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And, you know, you just stall and stall and stall. So like you said, you just have to get it out, and then you just go along and keep changing it as you go along.
And I think there's a lot of women in business that, and you mentioned before, obviously you were stalling in terms of, and I think sometimes perfectionism really can stall not just the starting of the business, but doing different things and doing new things, because we're so focused on it has to be perfect before we can get it out. And actually it doesn't. Even some of the big major brands that you see, they make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah.
But they got it out. And actually sometimes, unless it's something that's really like super offensive, everything can be fixed after the fact. Really.
Definitely. And you know what, as well, to add to that, what we're thinking and thinking's doesn't look good, to somebody else it looks amazing.
Yeah, no, and that's 100% true. It's funny you said about the video thing. That's something that I'm still working on. So these videos I'll do all day because I can prepare, I can make sure I've got makeup on. But just talking into the camera on Instagram, unless I've done one of these before, so I know that my face looks good, I really struggle to do it. So I did do a challenge, it was in August or September, where I had to do a video every day for like a month. Because I knew I don't wear makeup like that. So I knew that I was going to not have makeup on every single day, and I would have to still do it. And even going through that process made me realize it's not that big of a deal. Nobody's that bothered that you've got dark circles under your eyes or that your hair is not perfectly in place. Nobody's that bothered. And in forcing myself to do it, it's meant that now, even though sometimes I'm still like, no, this is too bad. You don't look, now you look really lean up.
Yeah.
Generally, as long as I don't look absolutely on the floor, I'm much more comfortable with doing it because I force myself. So sometimes it's also about stepping outside of your comfort zone and forcing yourself to do something that you're not comfortable with.
And that's just, again, that goes back to your authentic self as well, because sometimes I might do a video and I've got a hoodie on. Sometimes I might have my tired on, do you know what I mean? But it's just like, this is me type of thing, you know? So, or I'm in my car and I do because I like to do my little sing-alongs in my car and stuff. And I just put that out there because this is a song I like and I like the words of this. So I'm putting it out to you as well. And it's, I find the times where I'm vulnerable or I just put things out there that's where I get the most interaction.
Yeah.
I always find that's where the most interaction from.
Yeah, people can feel that you're being authentic and they can therefore connect to it, as opposed to when something's quite pre-organized or premeditated, which sounds that's like murder. But you can what would you say has been your greatest point of growth along the journey? And that's from not just where you've been doing business, but even throughout your career. So for me, it's been about, really standing in my really standing and being confident and confidently saying, and even with the name of my business, She's the Boss, I am the boss, I know about business and I can speak on this, and actually I'm not going to move or kind of like what they say, hide your something under a bushel. I can't remember what the phrase is, but I'm really stepping out into it, and particularly in the last couple of months I've really pushed that point home. So for me, that's the biggest area of growth, because I know at the beginning of the journey, I can specifically pinpoint in 2009 I was in a completely different place and I was very scared. And what if people think that I think that I'm better than them? What if it comes across as the ego? So for me, that's my big area of growth. So what would you say has been one for you?
I think one of my biggest area of growth is my confidence that I've grown in public speaking, because I've done a lot of public engagement speaking, and before I may have shied away from it. Now I just say yes. So the ability to say yes and say, I'll sort out the detail after, I think that's been one of the biggest thing for me, that I just say yes now. Before I might have thought, oh no, I'm not ready, you know, what's the crowd, do I know enough? But now I've got grown in confidence in my levels of, I do know what I'm speaking out about. I love actually speaking to people. I love when I see light bulbs go off and like, yeah, like what she's saying is true, you know? Like I love seeing that, because what I know about that is that that person's going to go back and reflect and make tweaks and make adaptations in their life. And I'm about changing lives, breaking negative cycles and changing lives. So I think my biggest area of growth is the confidence that I've gained now in public speaking, and the ability to just say yes, and I'll work out the details after.
Yeah, I speak to so many of my clients that are just absolutely terrified of public speaking, and one of the things I say to them is just say yes and work it out afterwards. And after a while, they'll keep doing it. It's the same thing of forcing yourself out of your comfort zone. If you keep on doing it, at some point, you're just going to get used to it.
Yeah, and the thing about confidence is you only gain confidence by doing.
Yeah.
So in anything in life, in anything that we're doing, the only way you gain confidence in that area is by doing. Nobody's confident at the beginning. So the more you do it is the more you get confident, because you realize to yourself, actually, I can do this. So in any area of confidence, you need to be doing it in order to gain that confidence. Confidence is not something that you just have. Confidence is something that you gain through doing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're at the end, the final stretch of the interview, and the question I ask all of the women in business that I speak to, because I think it's so important, each one teach one. What are the 3 pieces of advice you'd give to a woman that is stalling, hasn't necessarily built up the courage to start her business, or the woman that has, but is maybe thinking that this just seems like a really long process ahead of me?
So the first bit of advice I would give is just do it. And I know that might sound cliche, but you have to do something in order to learn. So what I would say is, you know, even though you may be having doubts, you may be having negative thoughts about what you're doing, I'd say push through that, feel the fear and do it anyway. Push through that and put it out there, because that's the only way you're going to be able to learn what to tweak, or what's not going well, what's going well. So just get your idea out there and get the feelers, would be one thing. Number 2 would be understand the different platforms that are good for you. Because not every platform is right for you. So you might be on Instagram, but is your clients, is the people you want to interact with on Instagram? You know, so you need to know what platform. So I'd say play around with different platforms and understand what works well from you if your business is social media based. Because obviously you've got your offline activities that you do, but social media is really big right now. So you need to identify which platform is good for you and your target audience. And number 3, I would say, so when we're in our comfort zone, things are easy for us, right? So you kind of, everything's just, that's the word. It's kind of easy because you're in your comfort zone. But stepping out of your comfort zone is where the magic actually happens. So if you're uncomfortable doing video, practice doing video more often. Just go live. Just do it. Just go live and get it out there, speak to your community or whatever. And then that's the way you'll be able to watch back what you're doing and tweak things again. You'll be able to watch back your videos, your lives, and say, I didn't like the way that looked, I didn't like the way I said that. And you'll be able to develop that way as well. So that's where confidence levels will come up. And I think those 3 things for me are the 3 advice that I gave myself in order to become confident in what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. If people want to find out more about you and the services you offer, what platforms are you on?
Right. So I'm on all social medias. So by You4Us. So my username is You4Us. That's YOU, the number 4 us. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And my website also is www.you4us.com.
That's fabulous. So Paula, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing such useful information. There's definitely a conversation I would like to have with you afterwards about my own financial goals.
Hey,
And
thank you
I'm
for
sure,
having me.
yeah, I'm sure that people watching definitely going to take away some real gems from the advice that you've given. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me.
And thank you guys for listening, for watching, and for staying engaged. If there's anything that Paula said that's really resonated with you, please write a comment. Make sure that you like, that you share. And as usual, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're a woman in business and you want to be interviewed as part of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, please email me at Daniela@she'sthebossintl.com. Thanks for watching.